Hey there, fabulous ladies. Welcome to Bring Back Your Pink, where we celebrate the fabulousness of midlife and beyond. I am Jen B, your host, your biggest fangirl and impact-driven entrepreneur living my biggest and boldest life, so you can too. Get ready to leave behind societal expectations and embrace a life filled with laughter, joy, and endless possibilities. So stand tall, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the world of living life in full color. Together, we'll rediscover the power of being unapologetically ourselves, and we will release our inner vibrancy, and together, we will bring back our pink. Let's make every moment count, girls. Hello, lovely ladies, and welcome back to Bring Back Your Pink, the podcast where I try and ignite the spark of empowerment and transformation in women everywhere. And today, I have the incredible Janine with us. She's a seasoned coach, facilitator, and consultant who spent the last 12 years guiding hundreds of men and women in the corporate sector to newfound success and self-discovery. And you know that I love that, right? Lately, Janine has found a true passion in working with women, helping them rediscover themselves and step back into their confidence with remarkable results. In today's episode, Janine is going to share her mission to empower more females in corporate or business environments to be bold, be brave, and be the best that they can be, both professionally and personally. And you know how much that lights me up. So get ready for an inspiring journey back to self with Janine. Let's dive in and welcome Janine. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Jen, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this chat with you.
I am excited too, because you know that I'm all about like bringing back the pink. I mainly work with business women, and I'm so excited to have you on to actually talk about, you know, the corporate women, because, you know, it's often a segment that is forgotten, especially as we move into the old, you know, to the middle. I was going to say not the old, because we're not old.
No.
As we move into middle age,
Yes.
You know, we're the invisible women, and I'm so excited to speak to you today about how, you know, we can help them stand out and be bold and be brave. So let's start off with,
okay,
can you share how you've seen self-doubt impact women, you know, in the corporate settings? Because it would be like us, you know, in our businesses, it's crippling.
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, that was the big driver for me moving and transitioning into the online space and only working with females, was exactly that. What I started to see is there were just common themes coming through as you kind of coach, right? And the biggest theme for females was that at some point in time, a lack of confidence was a blocker for them to reach that next position, or to speak up in a meeting, to put their hand in the ring for a new position, or to go and ask for a pay rise, you know, and the list kind of goes on. So there was always a theme or an undercurrent of a lack of confidence. It might not have started, that's not why they came into the room and said, oh, I want to talk to you because I don't have confidence. It starts with, I need to be able to go and have this conversation with my boss about raising my salary. And then underneath it all is, okay, actually what you're talking about is you lack confidence to actually go and ask for the value that you bring to the business.
Yeah, and that's scary. Like, I can remember back to my days of being employed. That's really scary, because you're putting yourself out there, and you're putting yourself out there to be rejected. And that is really difficult. I will never forget. Let me tell you just a little story.
Love this.
Oh yeah, when I was employed, and I was actually freelancing through this business, and they offered me a position, and I went back and said, look, I'm really sorry. You know, I feel like this is not my worth. You know, I can't remember exactly what I said. We're talking 14 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like I'm worth more. And he looked at me and he said, you are not worth any more than this. The guy that, and you know what, that slammed me. I lost.
Debilitating.
It was debilitating. You know, I look back and go, to you now. But, you know, it does. It brings you down. And, you know, they knew they had me at that time. I was a single mum.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, and they knew that. So
yeah, and I think every female's got a story like that, Jen.
Yeah,
every single female. Me too, right? my story dates back to when I was offered the HR or people and culture director role. I was so excited at being given that opportunity that I never even thought about the salary component until I'd signed the letter, handed it in. It was a big pay jump, don't get me wrong. But for someone who has access to every single other employee's salary data, suddenly I was looking at this going, why am I being paid the same as service delivery managers in our service area? And I'm a director.
Oh my
I know
gosh.
I may not have the experience. But you offered me that position and that comes with a certain salary. But I never said a word. I just did the job for 2 and a bit years and never questioned it. And I think now, if I was back there now, I'd be like, I wouldn't have signed that letter under any circumstance, right?
No.
Yeah.
Because
So
we look at these things and go, wow, what a great opportunity as a female, to get this
correct.
position. And then we don't look at the remuneration and we don't then have the confidence to go back. It's a
Exactly.
catch-22, isn't it? So
Exactly.
tell me, is this sort of what inspired you to focus specifically on, empowering women within their
Yeah.
profession
Look,
and, let's face it, personal lives, because it goes across both?
yeah. I think there was two things. One was COVID. So what happened during COVID was I was one of the very fortunate people that I had a lot of one-on-one coaching clients, and I wasn't doing a lot of group facilitation at that point in time. It just wasn't a year of it. Like mine tends to go in waves, and everything naturally transitioned into being really easy to do on Zoom and Teams. So there was a bit of this is really easy. Why can't I do more of this and reach more people? And then what happened during COVID was there was really strong themes coming through of the female clients that I was coaching around their struggles with confidence, around their struggles of balancing work and home. That even though they were home and being able to do all this stuff, most of it was still falling on them. That relationships were breaking up, marriages were breaking up, that, there was a lot of what I call there was lots of layers underneath each of these females, and the majority of them had nothing to do with their work.
Yeah.
In fact, the work stuff was probably the anchor that kind of allowed them to be a little bit stable. And so that's why I kind of wanted to create this program, because it's twofold around losing the confidence. It is discovering who you are and coming back into yourself.
Yep. So my favorite quote.
I do.
I just have to spout it out right now. Maybe the journey isn't about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that wasn't you in the first place, so you can be who you were meant to be in the first place. I just screwed that up. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
It's
And that's the
that
thing.
is exactly it. That is exactly it. And I think, in the corporate world, there's a lot of sorry, I'm going to have a bit of a tickle.
Oh, I think there's so many people that are copying, and I was just on a cruise recently, and everybody on the ship was coughing. It's this weather. So for those of you that are listening from elsewhere, we are in Sydney. Well, actually, Janine's up the coast, but New South Wales weather. It's stinking hot.
Oh, it's
We are of a certain
blistering day.
age where we do not love this.
No,
So
we do not. We do
we do
not.
not
You are
love it.
absolutely right. I am not enjoying this at all.
Me neither. Me neither. And my aircon, I don't have aircon in the office. I've got the fan blasting on me. I've got the
You're
cold
doing
water.
this from a pool to a pool, Jen.
No, we should. We should indeed. Now, where
Dear.
were we? Where did we get to?
We were
Because
talking about the females and during COVID and stuff. And what I noticed with a lot of them was coming back to themselves. That's where we were at. That because of all the roles that they were playing in their life, when I asked, what are you doing for you? What does well-being mean for you? What does self-care mean for you? What does self-confidence look like for you? Nobody had answers.
no.
Because nobody, when you're dropping kids off at daycare at 7 a.m. in the morning and then you're going into work and then you're in and out of meetings all day long and then you come home and you've already got a list of 10 things to do and you've got to pick the kids up and take them to their things and then you get to bed. That's the life that recurs day in and day out.
Yeah.
Where on earth is there space to think about what you need and what you want?
It really is that hamster wheel, isn't it? Like just going from day to day, just doing the same thing, same thing, same pace, finish it off, and then it's like it's time to go to bed. So there is literally
Exactly.
no time. And I have to be honest and say, now that I have made time for myself, and I mean, obviously, I am self-employed.
Yeah.
My
It's
daughter is
different
20.
for us.
My daughter is
Yes.
26. But
Yeah.
even as a younger, when I was employed and building a business at the same time, I always tried to make that time for myself. It is so important.
It's super hard and super important. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
let's go back to the confidence thing.
Yes.
So, we were talking about the salaries and what have you. So promotions, though, the salary increases, of course, and
Yeah.
new opportunities, they
Yeah.
would all come about, with as a result of the confidence, that they're
Yeah.
gaining from being
Yeah.
coached now. Like, because people go, oh, but I don't need that kind of coaching. But actually, yes, you do. You know,
Yeah.
this is not something that would come to us easily, and we don't know what we don't know.
I use that saying all the time. You don't know what you don't know. I think it's two parts to it. One is that having a coach, and you know this, and I know this,
Oh,
right? When we have that hour booked out a month that we're going to go and have a coaching session, it's permission to talk about you for 1 hour. And when I talked about all that busyness around you, if so many of my clients, both male and female, to be fair, but in particular the females, because they're never carving out that time for themselves, what happens is they tend to come into those monthly sessions and they're like, oh, okay, great. This is my time.
Mm.
I can talk about whatever's going on in my world, and I can use you as a sounding board to figure out, because they've usually got 9 times out of 10, they've got the answers within. They just need someone to bounce it off and go, oh, that's what I need to do, or this is the right thing, or what would you do, using you to get ideas. And I think that's the first bit, is it allows them and gives them permission to actually spend a bit of time on themselves.
Mm.
And then the second part is, through that process, is figure out what is it I want or need, and what goals and actions do I need to take that's going to help me achieve that, versus just talking about it.
Mm. See, because actually it's probably, we talk about as self-employed people that we have business coaches. I think there'd be a lot of people out there that probably wouldn't even think of being an employee and having a coach. And
Yes.
we just try and muddle along ourselves. I'm just thinking back to that thing I talked about earlier, that particular situation thing. If I had somebody there coaching me, it made a heck of a difference.
Absolutely, because we're neutral ground.
Yes.
So, we are there for the so let me I better put some cadence around that. A lot of coaches in corporate coach on behalf of the business that they're coaching for. When
Okay.
I meet a CEO or I meet an HR person, when that's usually how I get brought into organizations, one of the things that I'm really clear on is that I am coaching the person in front of me. And so that might mean that actually what is best for them is that they need to leave.
Yeah.
Right. And then I say, and by default, that's actually good for you, because why would you want a person sitting there that's not enjoying the work, or not bringing their best to the work, or not
Yeah.
going to be loyal to the organization? So there's that little layer of difference, which is, let me work with the person in front of me and get the best out of them one way or the other. And that's still in the best interest of the organization and the organization's performance. So that would be the cadence. But working with people and really tapping into their strengths, what they bring to the business, what are the opportunities that they are looking for, how can they work better with people? For some of my clients, it's as simple as, I just want more confidence to speak up in a meeting.
Yeah.
I may not have English as my first language, but I'm in a very senior position, and therefore people want me to be able to speak up. And their idea of speak up is to sometimes compare themselves to the people who are loudest in the room,
Yes.
right? And what I always say to someone like that is, you don't need to be the loudest in the room. You just have to speak your truth about your expertise and what you know, and people will listen because you aren't the loudest in the room.
I love this. Like, I'm going to be honest and say, it's really been, it's quite eye-opening to me to chat about this, because I never thought about being in the corporate world and having a coach to help you move forward. This is so cool. So
Yeah.
what transformations have you witnessed in the women that you've been working with
So many, so
and helping
many.
them, literally rediscover themselves?
Yeah. If I think about some of the ladies that I've been working with over the last couple of years, it's been things from coming out the other end of divorces
Mm,
and refiguring out who they are and and how that then impacts them at work as well. And that's been things like just discovering who they are again, being that little bit bolder and braver at work to speak up on behalf of themselves because they've done that in the hardest instance that they'll probably ever do in their life. So it
yeah.
gives them that little bit of courage. It's been things like just um, allowing someone else to tell you that we can see more in you. You've got potential. Why are you in this position? And they're like, oh, because this is, I enjoy this position. And I'm like, yeah, but you've got more potential. You'd be great as a director. You'd be great as a senior leader in this business. And then suddenly, because someone's planted that seed, they're like, oh, I've never seen myself in that position.
This is so
Right?
good.
Yeah.
This
And
is
or,
so
as you
good.
said, there's projects going. How many people have you told in the business that you're interested in those particular projects so that when the next one comes up,
Yeah.
your name's put on the table?
Ah,
Mhm.
this is gold. I'm so glad you're here, Janine. This really is gold. And as I said, I know ladies, I know friends of mine that will be listening to this, and I do hope they are gaining some great ideas from this conversation. But I now want to talk about your course.
Sure.
Because I know you are going to be launching very soon on the
Yes.
20th. And
Yes.
it's called Be Bold, Be Brave, Be You, A Journey Back to Self. Now, I love the name. For me, like that is a journey I've been on myself,
Yes. Yes.
obviously in a self-employment world. But, I then think about the ladies that are employed, and I'm actually getting goosebumps right now, helping them because something I did want to discuss with you, I am a personal brand strategist,
Yep.
but you know what? When you ladies that are employed, you are still a personal brand. So you have to
Absolutely.
be promoting yourselves. You've got to have that confidence. You've got to have the faith in yourself, the self-belief. So,
Yes.
journey back to self. I love
Yes.
that so much. So tell me about it.
So exactly that. So what I was thinking about was, okay, well, how do I help women and what are all the tools and techniques and things that I've used in the past that can create a program to help, in particular, females in corporate just stand in their own power and figure out what they
Yeah.
want and need. And by the very nature of it, it's more holistic than just professional, which is why I know at the end of this program, they've not only got goals and tasks and things that they have to go and action around their career, but it is also what's that bigger picture look like? Because there's going to have to be some shifts in that in order for me to attain the goals, etc. So I call it a journey because they go through what I call 6 stops on the journey.
Yep.
So we go all the way from step 1, which is really self-awareness.
Mhm.
So figuring out where you are at this point in time. And you gave a really good example of this, Jen. When we have little kids to versus me at the moment with 9 and 10
Yep.
versus you with 20s in their
Yeah.
20s, we have different capability and different space that we can take other things on,
Mhm.
right? So I'm running my business very differently today than I was when I had little tots,
Yeah.
right? Right. So hence why I say at this point in time is so important. At this point in time, because it'll
Mhm.
change. It'll change.
Yep.
So that's the first one. Where are you at this point in time? Self-awareness. Self-reflection is what's working for you and what's not working for you right now.
Mhm.
Right. Then the third part is self-empowerment. Let's really go into that space around what is working for you.
Yeah.
What parts of your life can you put ticks against? What parts are you putting crosses against?
Mhm.
And what does that look like and feel like at the moment, right? So those first three are all kind of the baseline.
Yeah, and it's really important in my journey back to self, which is exactly what I've done. Self-awareness is so important, and I think these 3 stages are so good for the self-awareness because also, you've got to look at triggers and why is something
Correct.
happening in your workplace that is triggering you, and
Yes.
be self-aware. I can now go away and analyze,
Yeah.
okay, I'm triggered because of this. That relates back to, something my
Yes.
ex-husband did,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
And,
Absolutely. There you go.
and you've got to really be able to do that. So that sounds fantastic. The first three, I think,
Yeah.
would be so,
Yeah. So it's really joining the dots, right? That's what I
yeah.
call it. Joining the dots so you've got a picture of you now. And then we step into the space around, okay, so first of all, what are you doing for you? So if there's a whole segment around self-care.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that we need to do that allow us to feel that sense of self-care?
Mm-hmm.
So this touches on the well-being, the work-life balance, the, space and time. And, so many women, because we're in this nurture, we go back to what we were talking about, being, we care so much for others, and it's a part of our nature that we give so much of ourselves to others that we forget about ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is really just allowing them to say, I call it me time rather than self-care,
Yes.
because so much self-care, sometimes they're like, oh, I read a book while I've taken blah, blah, and they're doing their soccer match. I'm like, that's self-care.
No.
It's like you have to drive and you have to wait, right? So it's really about carving out alone time
Mm-hmm.
where you get to go and do something that you really want and you really need.
And I like that because, people think self-care. They go, oh, I need to get in the bath with candles and, my book. I don't have time for that. You know what? You can carve out 10 minutes for yourself to read a book. I'm an avid reader. I have a lot of me time. Because yes, whilst my daughter is 26, I also have 10 furry people that are very demanding. Um,
Yes,
but
yes.
I find that, and even if it's 10 minutes, I'm like, if you finish what you're doing now, Jen, you can go have 10 minutes and read your book.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
is my me time.
that's exactly right. And so the way I say it to them is figure out what you can do on a daily basis, on a weekly. A weekly might be that you treat yourself to a bath with bath bombs.
Yeah.
So it goes daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, half yearly, annually. So annually for me is that I go away on a retreat, right? Without kids, without hubby, right? But then the monthly might just be that I catch up with some friends over a
Yeah.
coffee,
Yeah.
right? Without the guilt, without the, oh, I've got to go in an hour, right?
Yeah.
Because then it cuts that me time. It goes back to because I've got to go and give of myself again.
Absolutely. I'm very
Yeah.
excited. I made some, I don't do New Year's resolutions because I always break
Yeah.
them, but I made
Yeah.
some
Same.
rules for life for this
Yeah.
year.
Love
And
that.
one of those is, as I said, my daughter is 26. We are going on date times together. And
Yeah.
once a month, like she lives downstairs, but we lead hectic lives. She's at uni, she works, I'm like, right. So I've actually got it in the calendar. I've told her when we're doing it, and she was like,
Yeah.
that's
I
cool.
love that.
So,
I love
but that
that.
is, again, that is me time because I'm spending time with my beautiful daughter.
Because you want to.
Yeah, because I want to.
That's different, right? It's
Yeah.
it's a real want. And I love that because someone said this to me the other day, in your friendships, when I can't even remember who, you might have even been on a mastermind where this was part of it, and
Okay.
you'll be able to refresh me. Um, Thank you, menopause brain.
Oh God.
But they were
Let's not
talking
go
about,
there with that.
I know, right? They were talking about friendships where you just ring each other and it's an exchange of information. How have you been? What are you up to? How are the boys? How, that's
Mm.
versus an exchange of values and quality time. And
Oh,
I was
on
like,
that one,
oh,
right?
that's
Yeah.
so good. Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm hopeless. My friends know I don't ring. I'm exhausted. I don't want to chat.
Yeah.
But when you sit me around a lunch, I'll sit there for hours with you
Oh,
because I really do. I'm interested. Well, how are you going? What's happening?
yeah.
How can I support you? What's going on in your world? So I think that whole concept of self-care is so good to have a chat with women about.
I agree. I think
And
that's
then the
really,
next
really nice.
topic that came on was actually came from the first cohort who did the program. So what came about was when we were talking about blockers for where self-confidence is a blocker, a lot of them ticked the boxes in the first kind of self-awareness exercise around self-promotion. And there was a very big conversation at that point in time around I really struggle with this. Why are we not good at this? Males tend to do it so beautifully. They just walk in and, I kind of own the room or ask for what they want. What's going on for us? And so one of the things that I did was I built a whole section, a masterclass around authentic self-promotion, so
Okay.
that you could figure out what is it that I need to do that's still really authentic to me, which doesn't mean that I'm shouting things off the rooftop,
Yeah.
but is allowing my brand
Mm-hmm.
to be known within the business that I'm in and the
Yeah.
network around it, so that I am the first thing or one of the first people that people think about when it comes to those opportunities, that position, a salary increase, etc. So there's a whole topic on that. And then the last two are around the end of the journey. So if we think about all the things we've been made aware of, and we're thinking about our self-care and our whole life, and then we're talking about self-promotion, then what are the goals and activities I need to put in place? So self-accountability,
Mm.
that will enable me, the last one, to be self-confident again. And what does self-confidence look like and feel like on me versus what does it look like and feel like on you?
I love it. This sounds like a great course. Well, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Just
proud of it.
Yeah, I can imagine you are. You really,
Mm,
it sounds fantastic. So just as an aside, like when these ladies are coming to you, what are
yes.
some of the common fears and challenges that they would be feeling and facing? Because it actually, as I said, I feel this is something that a lot of people don't even know exists.
Yeah.
Really why, I wanted to get you on. So, you can share your wisdom, but
Yeah.
how might they be feeling? Like, how would they know if they need some help?
I think that's a really good question. So I think there's a couple of things. I feel like some women may go, "Oh, I should be at this level because I'm in a very senior level.
Mhm.
This should not be an issue for me."
That's not my favorite word. Should is a word that is not in my vocabulary. As a matter of fact, on my
Incorrect.
branding Instagram, I don't know if you saw it, branding Instagram, it was like, we need to stop shooting all over ourselves.
Exactly. I love that, right? And that is exactly right. So there's this perception of, if I'm in a very senior role, then the perception is that I should be confident and I should have my shit together and I should be able to do all of this. But actually, I know, because that's the level I coach at mostly, that that's absolutely not true. And in fact, in the last course, what I did was I got two guest speakers who were very senior women that I coach in corporate, who came into the group and actually had this massive, beautiful Q&A conversation around how confidence hasn't always been in their realm and
Yeah.
how they deal with it at this level and what works. And actually what it did was, for all the women in the cohort who went, "Oh, thought you would have had your shit together," they went, "Oh, you're just like us."
Yeah. That's so good.
All right. And
We
so I
always
think
have
that
these people up on these pedestals, you've
we
got to be
do.
this and I should be this and I should be this and I should be wearing designer clothes and I should be wearing high heels and I should have
Yeah.
my hair done every week and my makeup should always be perfect. And, you know, like that's
No,
not true.
exactly. So what comes as a result of that is, if there's anyone who's saying or comparing themselves. So I know that the real saying is comparison is joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. What I say is comparison is the thief of confidence.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're in that space where you're like, "Oh, I wish I could be more like, Jen over there because she's great in meetings," and I don't want you to compare yourself. I just want you to find out, what is it that's holding you back and how do we get you to speak up in meetings and be authentic?
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's
Did you say
great.
that? Yeah.
That's great
Yeah.
because this is the thing. It's like, as I said before, you don't know what you don't know.
Don't know what you don't know, right? So, and again, just creating and carving out space so that women have time to figure all of this out. Because when we talk about career development in corporate organizations, they're not doing any of this stuff, right?
No.
They're just simply saying, what skills or competencies do you need to be able to fill this role? Can you do that role? 9 out of 10 women can absolutely do the role. The thing that's holding them back is their confidence to feel like they can do that role, and their
And
confidence to feel like they can fail and it's all
yeah.
right.
So that leads me to actually something that's just popped into my head.
Love
So,
that.
like working with you, and doing the program, how does that encourage and help them to own their own story? Because like storytelling is also part of, the
Yes.
self-promotion, but also to recognize their strengths, because a lot of us we're going, oh, but I'm not really that good at that. We
Yeah.
need to recognize our strengths. And it's very funny. For a long time, I recognized none of mine, but all the work I've done with my coaches has helped me recognize my strengths and embrace them.
Yeah, exactly. And so in that early on stage where we do self-reflection, that's really about, there's a few exercises in there. One of them is to kind of map out all your achievements over time to now.
Well, that'd be a
Right?
nice one. Mm.
Yeah, because what that allows them to go is, you didn't get to where you're at because you're not good, right? You actually got to where you're at because all of this stuff enabled you as part of your story to land where you are.
Yeah.
So own that and figure out, and then you take one of those instances. So it might be that they got a promotion very early on in their life. Let's just say that that's what happened for that person.
Yeah.
We take that particular incident and then we go deep on it. And then I go, what strengths did you have at that point in time that enabled you to be promoted? All right. And then you start carving it. So where did you get that stuff from? So you're pulling in all these strengths from your story around one particular incident that allows them to really, raise their own awareness, which is our point, through self-reflection, that actually I already had this all in me for a long time and it got me to this point. And there's so much more I can lean into around that space and utilize as I take the next step.
Ah, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know the ladies out there will be appreciating it.
Thank you, Deb.
Because we do very much get stuck in ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we don't let ourselves
Yeah.
be bold and be brave and to be ourselves, because we're often trying to be someone we're actually not. So
Exactly.
lastly, what
Yes.
advice do you have, for women that are wanting to be bold and brave and the best they can be,
Yeah.
both professionally and personally? Now, I'm going to say number one, go do Janine's course. But
Bless you. You are awesome. Yes, what would be great than that? I think there's a couple of things. The first one is, I would say, is what does your support circle look like? Now, you and I know that how important this is, right?
we
So,
do.
yes, I'm a coach and I am but one person in a support circle of someone else. It has to be, what do your peers look like? In the corporate world, we talk a lot about having a mentor or having a sponsor.
Yes.
They're a little bit different, right? The sponsor is the person who will raise your name and speak about you in a positive way without you being in the room. The mentor guides you to what you want to do next, right? So that's that little difference. What is, your higher level manager look like? What networks are you a part of that are going to support you? So having that circle of support around you is really, really crucial to help women. And you're absolutely right. 90% of the people that I've coached over the last 12, 13 years, the only reason they got to have me as a coach was because they had an amazing CEO and an amazing HR director who believed that this program was that was worthy. Not this exact program, but leadership programs or emerging leadership programs where they got to have someone like me as a coach. Probably only that 10% are other women in particular who've gone, you know what? I'm at this level and I may not be able to access a coach yet because in my organization, they don't give it until you're a senior leader. But I want a coach at this point in time. And I believe that a coach would really help me achieve what I need to achieve and what I want for my career down the track. And so they engage me at a much different level than I'm normally brought in for, so that they can fast track, or so that they can get their confidence at this level. Because imagine getting to a more senior or executive level and you're not losing time or worried about the fact that you are there for a reason and you're there because you earned it and you're there because you're amazing.
one of my, I can't remember the exact quote, but one of these quotes that I hear a lot is, when women support women, amazing things happen.
Yeah.
And it's really been brought home to me today that not only do we need business coaches in our own businesses, but you ladies that are employed in corporate, you need the help to rise as well. We can't rise without each other. So yeah, that's
No.
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. As I said, I've appreciated it. And now where can the ladies find you?
Oh, lovely. Jet, thank you so much for having me on. I could have spent another 2 hours talking
Well,
to
I
you. I
feel like
love
we could have, but I'm
chatting
like,
with you.
yeah, no,
Chatting with
I was
you.
like, we need to stop, or it's going
I
to be
know.
2 hours, so no one's going to listen.
I love it. I love it. They can find me at my website, which is janinebotha.com. I'm also on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook under my name. And I'll also, I think you've got the link to the sales page around the
Yes,
program.
I
So,
do.
yeah,
And all of this will
perfect.
be in the show notes, ladies. So,
Fantastic.
if this has resonated with you, I want you to pop over and say hello to Janine, because I know I've known Janine for a couple of years now, and I do know that she is 100% what she says she is. She's, an authentic, wonderful lady, and I want you to go and say hello to her. So thank you again. And until next time, ladies, till next week, have a amazing week and continue bringing back your pink. I'll see you next week. Bye. Hey, ladies, I created this podcast because I know we need more of it to help us bring back our pink and live our best lives. But guess what? We can't do this alone. So if you loved this episode, let's spread the word. Share it on your socials, send it to a friend, and don't forget to write us a review. By doing this, you become part of the movement to bring back your pink and inspire others to do the same. I'm incredibly grateful to have you in my world as we live life in full color and become our authentic selves. Together, we're unstoppable. Let's keep rocking and bringing back the pink.